When you're a person of color who goes on a very public platform to present potentially controversial ideas, par for the course is for people to engage in ad hominem attacks on you, simply because they disagree with your opinion. And for me, not so surprisingly, the top ad hominem attacks that I've received are making fun of the hat on my head or calling me a towel head.
And you're a towel.
You're a towel.
Now, I knew that was going to happen going into this, so I try to take it all in stride. But also, one of the most beautiful things of having this presence is being able to engage in dialogue with people who actually understand your religion or want to show respect towards your religion. Or even if they don't understand your religion, they're open to learning about it. Notable instances for me include with Mike, who it appears knows a great deal about what Sikhs are, or this user, SnifeForgeForger9432, who explained to me his understanding of turbans and enjoyed my explanation of why I wear a turban. To me, all that is emblematic of how discourses should go, because the more conversations you can have like that, the more you start to see yourself as similar to the people around you rather than different. Now, I bring all of this up to say that we are a country of many diverse backgrounds, but we also have to acknowledge the fact that we were absolutely founded on Judeo-Christian values. Among those include unalienable rights endowed to us by our Creator, and also with that there's an accountability to God that has parallels in the Hebrews. Additionally, there's a strong work ethic cited in the Bible, and conversely, even though all the founders were Christian, they explicitly say that everyone should be free to worship God, or not, as they choose. To me, all that should be undisputable, but of course, leave it up to MSNBC to find a way to spin that and use it as a way to vilify conservatives and, in a way, Christians.
The base of the Republican Party has shifted, right? Remember when Trump ran in 2016, a lot of the mainline evangelicals wanted nothing to do with the divorced, real estate mogul who had cheated on his wife and with a porn star and all of that, right? So what happened was he was surrounded by this more extremist element. You're going to hear words like Christian nationalism, like these are groups that you should get very schooled on. And the one thing that unites all of them, because there's many different groups orbiting Trump, but the thing that unites them as Christian nationalists, not Christians, by the way, because Christian nationalists is very different, is that they believe that our rights as Americans, as all human beings, don't come from any earthly authority. They don't come from Congress. They don't come from the Supreme Court. They come from God. The problem with that is that they are determining men, are determining what God is telling them. And in the past, that so-called natural law is, it's a pillar of Catholicism. Catholicism, for instance, it's been used for good in social justice campaigns. Right. Martin Luther King evoked it in talking about civil rights. But now you have an extremist element of conservative Christians who say that this applies specifically to issues including abortion, gay marriage, and it's going much further than that.
Now that was MSNBC journalist Heidi Przybyla, who then took to Twitter to imply that if you believe that your rights come from God, then you're a Christian nationalist. And then when Wade Miller here called her views out as anti-Christian, she then refuted it with the idea that he doesn't speak for all Christians, and certainly not for God. I mean, she's partially correct in that no one person can speak for an entire religion. But the problem with what she's saying is that she will vilify you as a Christian nationalist because you believe that your rights are endowed to you by God. But in the same breath, will say that you do not speak for God. That's just a little bit hypocritical for me. And also, she had no issue when natural law was being used and evoked for people like MLK and their civil rights and social justice campaigns, which I do believe that civil rights has a strong basis in natural law. But when conservatives use it to guide their policy decision-making, it's then seen as a form of extremism. To me, it just seems that she's playing God herself. Something that Matt Walsh picked up on as well, calling her out on being too stupid to understand what she actually means by Christian nationalism. And taking it a step further, saying that if our rights don't come from God, where else would they come from? And how can you get upset then when society wants to limit your rights? And then you have people like Michael Knowles here making fun of her for not knowing anything about what she's talking about. And what's also funny to me is someone very familiar previously said the exact same thing.
I believe all Americans are born with certain inalienable rights. As a child of God, I believe my rights are not derived from the Constitution. My rights are not derived from any government. My rights are not derived from any majority. My rights are because I exist. I have certain rights. That they're given to me and each of my fellow citizens by our Creator, and they represent the essence of human dignity.
So does that make Joe Biden a Christian nationalist? I mean, he is Catholic. Now, let me just say that as a Sikh, we share many of these Judeo-Christian values. As an example, earning an honest living, and also being accountable to God at the end of the day. And I do believe that these should have some influence on the legal system. So what does that make me? Now, a commonly used rebuttal to this is the idea of the separation of church and state. So let's be clear. Nowhere in the Constitution were these words explicitly used. Rather, it's implicit in the First Amendment, where Congress shall make no law establishing a national religion. It means the government cannot force religion upon you. Now, I personally don't see it as a bad thing if commonly used religious values were infused in our laws, especially if that would help strengthen our moral compass. And I think this is where the word Christian nationalism has been used as a dog whistle, as some would call it, and it shows. As the Pew Research Center conducted a survey that shows that most Americans are unfamiliar with what it really means, where a third of the respondents describe a Christian nation as the general guidance of Christian beliefs in society, including having a faith in God. And another 12% of the public describes a Christian nation in terms of being guided by beliefs and values, but without specifically referencing God or Christian concepts. And the hope to see the nation as a whole having basic belief and faith that all people, regardless of race or creed, be treated equally, is solid belief in our humanity and willingness to act upon it, as well as a society that values tolerance, morals, and ethics, and caring and loving. Now, there will always be people on extreme sides of the spectrum, as there were some people who believed in strict theocratic rule and belief in Christian dominance in society. But I personally believe that most people respect our freedom of religion. And when pressed on this issue, I think that Vivek said this more perfectly than anybody else could have. Take a listen.
Thanks for being here, and thanks for coming to Iowa so much. We appreciate your visits. So freedom of religion is a part of our Constitution and obviously a huge part of our country. What do you say to those who say that you cannot be our president because your religion is not what our founding fathers based our country on?
I would say that I respectfully disagree. And, I want people to understand this about me. I would rather speak the truth and lose an election than to win by playing some political snakes and ladders. I mean, if I wanted to map out my political career and really solve for that, I could fake convert. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you about my faith. I'm Hindu. Now, I went to Christian schools. I went to St. Xavier in Cincinnati, and I actually have been on the board of St. X, except for a hiatus to run for president. And I can tell you with confidence that we share the same value set in common. I'll tell you about my faith. My faith teaches me that God puts each of us here for a purpose, that we have a moral duty to realize that purpose. Now, I had what you would call not a traditional upbringing, but probably a very traditional upbringing. Right? My parents taught me family is the foundation. Marriage is sacred. Divorce isn't some option you just prefer off a menu when things don't go your way. Abstinence before marriage is the way to go. Adultery is wrong. That the good things in life involve a sacrifice. Now, are those foreign values in this country? I know it could look that way at times. You turn on the television, go to the movie theater. I don't think it's unfamiliar to most of us. I think those are the same Judeo-Christian values that I learned at St. X. When we get to the 10 Commandments, what do they say? There's one true God. Don't take his name in vain. Observe the Sabbath. Respect your parents. Don't kill. Don't lie. Don't cheat. Don't steal. Don't commit adultery. Don't covet. That's when it hit me. We share the same value set in common. There's another core teaching in my faith, which is that we don't get to choose who God works through. God chooses who God works through. And so, yes, I believe God put us here for a purpose. My faith is what leads me. on this journey to run for president. My gratitude to this country is what leads me.
Now that clip was from December, and since then he's of course suspended his campaign for presidency, but you can't deny his patriotism, which shows in the fact that many people would love to have him as our VP. And his speech at CPAC 2024 was nothing short of charismatic.
We fight for the truth. We stand up for the truth. That's who we are. That's what won us the American Revolution 250 years ago. And you know what our founding fathers would say if they were alive today? Founding fathers would say that you still have another 250 years and then some still left. But we're going to have to step up and seize it for ourselves, just like our founding fathers did the first time around in 1776. There was something in the water back then, something in the culture that said that you don't have to respect the boundaries that somebody tells you that you occupy because of your race or your gender or your skin color or because of the degree that you receive. No, you can achieve anything you ever set your mind to with your own hard work and commitment and dedication and ambition and curiosity. That was the founding spirit of this country. That's what our founding fathers would tell us if they were here today.
This is a man who speaks the truth. And the truth is, you can call them Judeo-Christian values all you want, but I call them American values. And as Vivek said so eloquently, we need to rediscover those ideals that were instilled within the very fabric of society, because when it comes down to it, it can unite us in a way that we haven't been in a while. Ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel, hopefully I've earned a subscription. Here's some videos for you to watch in the meantime. Until next time, peace out.